just bought his dream car, a 2019 Bentley Continental GT, $250,000 of hand-built British automotive engineering. And on the day he drove it off the forecourt, he told himself the story that every luxury car buyer tells themselves, that Bentleys hold their value, that luxury always appreciates, that something this beautiful and this rare could not possibly lose significant money. 3 years later, Jake's Bentley is worth approximately $140,000. He has lost $110,000, 44% of his investment in 36 months. On a car he drives 12,000 miles per year and pays $4,000 annually to insure. And the man who lives 2 streets away from Jake just sold a 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS that he purchased in 2005 for approximately $70,000, for $1,200,000 at RM Sotheby's auction in Monterey. A 17 times return on investment in 20 years, same passion for cars, same obsession with the mechanical, same love of driving something extraordinary, completely different economics. And today I'm going to decode exactly what separates those two outcomes: the complete economics of owning a luxury car collection, what it costs to hold, what determines whether it builds or destroys wealth, and why the difference between a car collection as a financial disaster and a car collection as a genuine alternative investment comes down to 3 specific factors that most collectors never apply with sufficient discipline. The depreciation trap that destroys most collections. Here is the fundamental economic reality that catches most luxury car buyers completely off guard. Modern luxury cars, regardless of price, brand prestige, or engineering quality, depreciate. They depreciate aggressively in the first 3 years, and then continue depreciating at a slower rate for the rest of their operational lives. The Bentley Continental GT that Jake bought for $250,000 loses approximately 25% of its value in year 1. Not because it is a bad car, it is an extraordinary car, but because the market for a 1-year-old Bentley with 12,000 miles on it is priced at a significant discount to new, because any buyer who can afford a Bentley can afford to buy it new. And the exclusivity premium of newness commands a price that depreciation immediately begins eroding. And the economics of driving an expensive car are further complicated by the carrying costs that most buyers calculate incompletely before purchase. A $250,000 Bentley requires annual insurance of approximately $8,000 to $12,000, annual maintenance of approximately $4,000 to $8,000, annual storage or opportunity costs of garage space, and the continuous awareness that every mile driven is removing value from an asset that is already depreciating. Jake is effectively paying approximately $58,000 per year in purchase price depreciation plus carrying cost to drive his Bentley, which is approximately $4,800 per month, to drive a car that his neighbor just proved could have been worth $1 million. If Jake had made a different choice 20 years ago, the 3 factors that determine investment grade versus consumption grade. Here is the framework that separates the car collections that build generational wealth from the ones that provide extraordinary experiences while destroying net worth, and that every serious collector uses, whether they articulate it explicitly or not. Factor 1 is rarity. Investment-grade cars have production numbers that create genuine scarcity. A car made in quantities of 500 to 5,000 units, that was significant at its moment of production, will become increasingly scarce over time as examples are lost to accidents, poor storage, and neglect. The surviving population in excellent condition shrinks every decade, which means that the supply available for purchase continuously contracts while the demand from a growing global pool of collectors continuously expands. The economics of decreasing supply against increasing demand produce the appreciation curves that make the right cars genuinely viable as alternative investments. A Porsche 911 RS 2.7, made in 1,580 units in 1973, has a surviving population in excellent condition of perhaps 500 examples, competing for the attention of hundreds of thousands of Porsche enthusiasts globally who have the financial means to acquire one. Factor 2 is significance. Investment-grade cars carry a story. They represent a technological breakthrough, a design landmark, a motorsport victory, or a cultural moment that transcends the car itself. The Ferrari F40 was the last car Enzo Ferrari personally approved before his death in 1988. That provenance adds a dimension to the car's value that no production specification can fully explain. A car that participated in a championship-winning racing campaign carries physical evidence of a historical moment, and collectors who understand that they are buying history, not transportation. A Apply pricing logic that is closer to fine art than to conventional vehicle valuation. Factor 3 is condition and provenance. Investment grade cars are original, documented, and preserved rather than restored. A car with its original paint, matching numbers across engine, gearbox, and body, and a documented ownership history traceable to the original dealer, commands a significant premium over an identical car that has been repainted, mechanically rebuilt, or has unexplained gaps in its ownership record. The insurance economics of serious collecting. Here is the carrying cost structure that most people who aspire to car collecting significantly underestimate. And that makes the difference between a sustainable collection and one that forces sales at the wrong moment. Specialist car collection insurance, through providers like Haggerty, Chubb Classic Car, or American Collectors Insurance, costs approximately 1 to 2% of the agreed value per year, which means a collection valued at $5 million costs between $50,000 and $100,000 annually to insure against theft, fire, flood, accident, and the various other risks that attend owning valuable physical assets. And the insurance is not optional, because an uninsured collection represents unhedged exposure to the total loss of years of careful selection and significant capital deployment. And it does not end with the insurance premium. Storage for investment-grade cars requires climate control, which means maintaining temperatures between 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity between 40 and 50% year-round, to prevent the degradation of rubber seals, leather interiors, paint surfaces, and the dozens of organic materials that give vintage cars their character and their value. Specialist storage facilities charge between $300 and $1,500 per car per month, and a collection of 10 cars stored professionally costs between $36,000 and $180,000 per year in storage alone, before a single dollar of maintenance or insurance. The auction economics that most buyers ignore. Here's the transaction cost structure that makes car collecting more expensive than most investment-grade asset classes, and that any serious collector must understand before their first acquisition. When you buy a car at auction, you pay the hammer price, plus a buyer's premium of between 10 and 15%. When you sell a car at auction, you pay a seller's commission of between 5 and 10%. The round-trip friction cost of one auction transaction is therefore between 15 and 25% of the car's value, which means that a car must appreciate by at least 25% from the moment you purchase it, before you have made a single dollar of real return. And this friction cost is the primary reason that short-term speculation in collector cars is economically irrational. The collection economics only make sense over holding periods long enough for appreciation to meaningfully exceed the transaction costs and carrying costs. The collector who holds a car for 5 years and sells it for 30% more than he paid has made a net return of approximately 5 to 15% after costs, which is a reasonable but unremarkable investment result. The collector who holds for 20 years and sells for 17 times their purchase price, as the Porsche RS owner did, has made one of the best investments available in any asset class. In any format, the portfolio thinking that separates amateur from professional collectors. Here's the mental model that transforms car collecting from an expensive hobby into a potentially viable alternative investment strategy. Professional collectors do not buy cars they love, they buy cars they understand, and then they love them. The distinction matters enormously. Buying a car because it is beautiful and then hoping it appreciates is consumption with optimistic framing. Buying a car because its rarity, significance, and condition metrics suggest that demand will outpace supply over the expected holding period, while its mechanical reliability is sufficient to avoid the catastrophic maintenance events that turn a profit into a loss, is investment with a physical asset that happens to be beautiful. The professional collector maintains a spreadsheet, not just a wish list. They track production numbers, surviving populations, auction results across the last 10 years, condition premiums, and the correlation between specific models and macroeconomic cycles, because collector car markets are cyclical. They contract during recessions and expand during periods of prosperity, and the collector who buys at the trough of the cycle, in the right cars, in the right condition, and holds through the next expansion, generates returns that the casual buyer who purchases at peak prices in popular models can never match. Here's what the complete economics of a well-constructed luxury car collection look like over a 20-year holding period. Initial investment of $2 million in 5 carefully selected investment-grade vehicles. Average appreciation of 8 to 12% annually on the right cars. Total portfolio value after 20 years, approximately $9 to $15 million. Total carrying costs over 20 years, approximately $800,000 to $1.5 million. Net return after carrying cost, approximately $6 to $12 million on a $2 million investment, which is a 3 to 6 times return over 20 years. Not as spectacular as the Porsche RS example, but genuinely competitive with private equity returns, and achieved with physical assets that Jake has driven on Sunday mornings, shown at concours events, and loved in a way that no stock certificate has ever generated. Jake looks at his depreciating Bentley and then at the auction catalog from Monterey, and understands that the difference between his collection and his neighbors was not passion, was not budget, was not access. It was selection discipline, applied at the moment of purchase, and holding discipline, applied for 20 years after. You will have been decoded. If this video made you think about your own garage differently, or made you understand for the first time what it would take to make a car collection a genuine investment, subscribe to Money Decoder 3004. Every single week, we decode the economics of the alternative investments and extraordinary assets that most people interact with as consumers, and most serious collectors approach as financial professionals. Simply, honestly, and clearly, drop a comment below. Do you think a carefully selected car collection is a better investment than the stock market? Tell me your number below. I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next decode.